We are now at the 3:30 turn in April's harvest on the second day of the Battle of Shiloh. And Breckinridge from the Confederates has recognized he's lost Bowen's brigade, but the rest of the division is largely intact. He passes his checks, so he continues to carry out his orders. And General Polk, also with the First Corps, decides to fight on. And if you remember, his orders were to attack the Union at Crescent Field. And he can see that General McClernand's forces have fallen back. So he sends Russell and Stewart's brigades to advance across the field. And of course, they come under defensive fire. Stewart runs headlong into three of the 1st Division's cannon. So Stewart ends up attacking the Union artillery and knocks the rest of their guns out. General McClernand is wounded, so I'm assuming that one of his subordinates is now taking command of the Federal 1st Division. Over on the other side, the Kentucky Brigade starts to advance toward the Army of the Ohio at Wicker Field. The Union troops end up suffering heavy losses and casualties. However, they pass their morale checks, so they maintain their position. And the Reserve Division's artillery recovers from its rout to now just being disorganized. Then we go to the Union part of the 3:30 turn. General Grant sends an order to General Sherman to attack the Confederates with the 5th Division along the secondary road between Water Oaks Pond and Duncan Field. And that order will get their next turn at about 4 o'clock. Also, Lew Wallace finally decides to move. However, I think it may not be soon enough to save his career as a general. I can imagine General Grant is just shaking his head in disgust as Wallace rides to his army headquarters at Perry's Field. So Rousseau and Kirk's brigades advance against the Confederate Reserve Division at Wicker Field, and the Union attacker suffers heavy losses here. The Confederates suffer some losses as well, but that brings the 3:30 turn to a close, and we go on to the 4 p.m. turn. So we now are at the 4 o'clock Confederate part of the turn, and General Polk fails the First Corps' corps attack stoppage, so he calls off the attack at Crescent Field. You can see that in the picture, and he has decided to fall back to the main road. On the other side, though, Breckinridge is a little bit encouraged by the apparent weakness of the Army of the Ohio, so he continues his attack. And the Kentucky Brigade suffers some losses. Both sides exchange fire. Rousseau's brigade on the Federal side absorbs massive casualties. And Bowen's brigade, which disappeared last turn from losses, has collected enough stragglers to actually return to the map, so he's deployed at Noah Cantrell's homestead. Then we go to the Union part of the 4 o'clock turn. So both General Nelson and General Cook pass their stoppage checks, so they continue their attack against the rebels at Wicker Field. Also, General Sherman receives orders to attack the secondary road, but he is in delay as he plans. And Lew Wallace's division passes along the track by Glover Field and then into Jones Field, which you can see at the very low right-hand corner of the map, Jones Field. At Wicker Field, Colonel Kirk's brigade advances on the Reserve Division's flank, and it suffers from defensive fire, but Kirk's brigade takes a beating and suffers more losses after becoming shaken from this fire. Hazen and Bruce both attack the Confederate Kentucky Brigade and inflict another loss upon it. Also, Wallace's 2nd Division takes the time to recover some stragglers, and so now his division is no longer wrecked after doing this. And that brings the 4 o'clock turn to a close. Stay tuned if you'd like to see what happens at 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Trucking, got my chips.